you search for Claude tutorials on YouTube, almost everything you find is aimed at developers. And if you're not a developer, you probably watch those videos, feel completely lost, and walk away thinking AI agents are just not for you yet. But here's what nobody is talking about. When it comes to actually building systems and getting real work done, not coding for its own sake, but creating workflows that run to produce outputs and save hours, non-technical people are doing things that most developers haven't even thought to try. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways that's playing out right now. 3 specific agent structures, no code, no terminal, that anyone can build inside Claude today. And by the end, you will have a completely different picture of what's possible for you. The first structure is the one that changes how most people think about Claude forever. And it starts with a simple question. What if Claude didn't just answer your prompt? What if one version of Claude finished a task, handed off, and a completely different version picked it up from there? That's what a sequential agent is. Think of it like a relay race. Each agent runs its leg, passes the baton, and the next one takes over. The output of agent 1 becomes the input of agent 2. The output of agent 2 becomes the input of agent 3. And by the end, you have something that no single prompt could have produced. Here's why this matters. Most people use Claude in a single conversation. They ask a question, get an answer, maybe follow up a bit. That's like asking one person to research a topic, write about it, edit it, format it, and publish it all at once. It's hard for people to do their best work that way. But when you break the task into stages and let each agent focus on just one thing, the quality of every step goes up dramatically. Let me show you 3 real examples of what this looks like. Imagine you run a service business. A new client fills out your intake form. It's got their goals, their budget, their timeline, some context about their company. In the old world, you read the form and spend an hour or 2 pulling together a project brief. Then another hour writing a welcome email sequence to kick off the relationship. That's 3 to 4 hours of work before you've done anything buildable. With a sequential agent setup, here's what happens instead. Agent 1 reads the intake form. Its only job is to extract and organize the key information. Goals, constraints, timeline, red flags, open questions. It produces a clear structure summary. Agent 2 picks up the summary and builds the project brief, scope, deliverables, milestones, what's in and what's out. Agent 3 picks up the project brief and drafts the welcome email sequence. The first email that sets the tone. The second that outlines what happens next. The third that confirms the first milestone. You review, you adjust, you send. What used to take 4 hours now takes 20 minutes. Here's one that's very relevant. If you're a content creator, you have a video idea. You know roughly what you want to say, but turning the rough idea into a finished, ready-to-upload package. Research, script, description, text, thumbnail concepts. Takes hours and requires you to context switch constantly. Sequential agents solve this. Agent 1 takes your topic and researches it. What are the key angles? What are people searching for? What's already been covered? And what's the gap you can fill? Agent 2 takes their research and writes the full script, with a hook, a structure, transitions, and a clear call to action if you want. Agent 3 takes the finished script and produces everything else. The YouTube description optimized for search. 3 thumbnail concept options with the text overlay and visual idea for each. 1 idea in, a complete production package out. This third one is powerful for anyone learning something new, a language, a certification, a new skill for work. The problem with most study plans is they are generic. They don't know what you already know, so they either start too basic or jump in too deep. With a sequential agent setup, Agent 1 assesses what you already know. It takes your questions, or reviews your notes, or gives you a quick diagnostic, and produces a clear picture of your current level and your gaps. Agent 2 takes the gap analysis and builds a curriculum, not a generic one, but one that starts exactly where you are and takes you exactly where you need to go, with the right sequencing. Agent 3 takes the curriculum and creates practice quizzes for each module. The right questions at the right difficulty, designed to test whether the learning is actually sticking. That's 3 agents, 3 jobs, 1 seamless output, no code, just clear instructions for each stage, where the output of one feeds directly into the next. The key insight with sequential agent is this. You are not asking Claude to do everything at once. You are designing a process, and Claude executes each step of that process with full focus. That's not how most people use AI, but it's how the people getting the best results are using it. The second structure is where things get genuinely intelligent, because sequential agents are powerful, but they always do the same thing in the same order. What if the situation calls for something different depending on what comes in? That's where a router, sometimes called an orchestrator, comes in. A router is an agent whose entire job is to look at what's in front of it, make a decision, and send the work in the right direction. It might route to a single agent for a simple situation. It might trigger an entire multi-step workflow for a complex one. And it makes the call based on conditions you define in plain language. Think of it like a traffic controller at a busy intersection. Cars coming from different directions, and the controller reads the situation and decides, this one goes left, that one goes straight. This one needs to wait. No car goes the wrong way. No workflow is wasted on the wrong situation. Let me show you 2 examples. You run a business, and leads coming through your website. But not all leads are equal. An enterprise company with 500 employees needs a completely different response than a small business owner working alone. The conversation, the timing, the level of detail, the stakeholders involved, everything is different. With a router, here's what happens. A new lead comes in, the router agent reads the intake information, company size, budget range, what they said they need, and makes a call. If the lead looks like an enterprise account, it triggers the full enterprise sales sequence, a multi-step workflow that researches the company, builds a personalized pitch deck outline, drafts a formal proposal, prepares discovery call talking points, and schedules a follow-up cadence. If the lead is a small business or solo operator, it routes to a lighter touch nurture sequence, a warm personal email, a link to relevant resources, a low-pressure check-in after a week. The same intake, 2 completely different paths, and the router makes the call automatically every time, based on the criteria you gave it. Here's one that content creators and marketers will immediately relate to. Not every content idea deserves the same treatment. Sometimes you have a quick tip, something you put in a tweet or short Instagram caption. Sometimes you have a big idea, something with enough depth to anchor an entire content series. Sending both through the same workflow is a waste. Treating the big idea like a quick tip is leaving massive value on the table. A content router solves this. You drop your idea in, the router reads it and makes a judgment. Is this a simple insight, or is this a pillar idea? If it's a simple tip or a punchy quote, it routes to a single agent that writes the post and caption. Done in 2 minutes, ready to schedule. If it's a big idea with real depth, it triggers a full content workflow. Agent 1 researches the topic thoroughly and identifies the best angle. Agent 2 writes the long-form blog post, fully structured with headers and examples. Agent 3 takes the blog post and repurposes into a social media thread, an email newsletter, or a video script, all from the one original idea. One input, 2 completely different outputs depending on what the idea actually deserves. This is what makes routers so powerful for non-technical people. Specifically, you are not writing code that checks conditions. You are writing instructions in plain English. If the lead mentions a company with more than 100 employees, treat it as enterprise. If the content idea could stand alone as a tweet, treat it as simple. Claude reads those instructions and makes the call. You've built decision-making logic without a single line of code. The developer equivalent of this is building conditional logic into a program. If-else statements, decision trees, branching workflows. It takes time to build, time to maintain. The non-technical version is a paragraph of plain English that Claude understands completely. In many cases, it's actually more nuanced, because natural language can capture conditions that are hard to express in code. The step structure is the one that produces the highest quality output, and it's the one that surprises people the most, because it flips the assumption that AI gives you one answer and you take it or leave it. What if Claude didn't just produce an output? What if it then turned around, evaluated the output against a set of criteria, and kept revising until it actually met the standard you set? That's a looping agent. It produces, it evaluates, and if the output doesn't pass, it loops back and tries again. It's relentless in a way that's genuinely hard to replicate manually. Most people, when they write something, review it once and call it down. A looping agent will go around 5 times if that's what it takes. There are 3 types of loops worth knowing about, and each one produces something different. The first type is the self-critique loop. The agent produces an output, then it critiques its own work. Then it rewrites based on that critique. It's like having a writer who is also their own brutally honest editor. Here's a real example. You need a brand messaging document, the foundational piece that defines who you are for, and what makes you different. It's one of the hardest things to write because you're too close to your own business. You know too much. You try to appeal to everyone, and everything comes up sounding like every other company in your space. You give Claude your business details, your competitors, your target customers. Agent 1 writes the messaging framework, positioning statement, tagline options, key messages, a tone of voice. Then the loop kicks in. Agent 2, the critique, reads the framework and does something most people don't do to their own work. It names what's wrong and identifies that the target audience is too broad. 3 different customer types who need completely different messages. Then it flags that differentiator could apply to 5 competitors, and points out that the tone sounds like a corporate template, not a real company with personality. The rewriter takes the critique and produces a new version, focused on one primary audience, a differentiator that's actually specific. A voice that sounds like something a real human would say. The final output is something that would have taken most people a full day with their brain strategies. And the quality gap between the first draft and the final version is enormous, because the critique in the middle was honest in a way that most people can't be about their own work. The second type adds a quality gate. The agent doesn't just critique, it scores. And if the score isn't high enough, it loops back automatically until it is. The example here is a client proposal. You are pitching a new client. The proposal needs to show you understand their problem, present a specific solution, make the ROI clear, and gives them enough trust signals to say yes. Most proposals fail on at least one of those. They understand the problem, but the solution is fake. The ROI is there but buried. The trust signals are an afterthought. Here's how the loop works. Agent 1 writes the proposal. Agent 2, the scorer, evaluates it on 4 criteria: problem understanding, solution specificity, ROI framing, and trust signals. It gives each one a score out of 10. If any criterion falls below 8, the proposal doesn't pass, it goes back. Agent 1 rewrites with the specific feedback from the scorer. Agent 2 scores again. This continues until every criterion hits 8 or above. Only then does the proposal come out the other end. What you get is a proposal that has been through multiple rounds of targeted improvement, each one addressing a specific weakness, no vague revision, specific criteria-driven improvement. The client receives something that reads like it was written by someone who deeply understood their situation and knew exactly how to present a compelling case. That's not luck. That's a quality gate that wouldn't let the proposal through until it ended. The third type is the most intellectually powerful. Instead of agent critiquing its own style or scoring against criteria, a separate agent plays devil's advocate. It actively tries to find the holes in the thinking, the assumptions that haven't been tested, the questions that need answering before anyone should believe the recommendation. The example is a business pivot recommendation. You're considering changing the direction of your business. A new market, a new offer, a new model. You've thought it through and you think it makes sense. You write up the rationale, but here's the problem. You've been living inside this business. You have blind spots. You've already decided you want to pivot, and your reasoning is shaped by that desire. The devil's advocate agent doesn't care about any of that. It reads your rationale and comes after it. What are you actually giving up by pivoting? Have you named that explicitly? What if the new direction has the exact same problem as the old one? Have you actually spoken to customers about this? Or is this an internal assumption? What's your plan if you are 6 months in and it's not working? The original agent then has to respond to every single one of those challenges, not dismiss them, respond to them. It adds explicit trade-off analysis and includes a root cause section that shows the pivot addresses the actual problem, not a symptom. Then it adds a customer validation step and defines what a reversal would look like if needed. The final recommendation is something completely different from the first draft. It's pressure tested and honest about what's being given up. It's the kind of thinking that usually only happens after a long conversation with a trusted advisor who's willing to push back hard. That's what the devil's advocate loop gives you. Not agreement, but challenge. And the output is stronger for it. So let's bring this together. 3 structures, no code, available to anyone right now inside Claude. Sequential agents for getting complex multi-step work done in a fraction of the time, where each agent does one job and passes the baton. Routers and orchestrators for making intelligent decisions about where the work should go, so the right situation always gets the right response. And looping agents for producing work that keeps improving until it actually meets the standard, through self-critique, quality scoring, or devil's advocate, pressure testing. If you want to go deeper on any of this, how to actually set up these agent structures, what the prompts look like, how to chain them together in practice, let me know in the comments which one you want me to break down first. And if you know someone who thinks AI is only for technical people, send them this video.